I rest my head on the cool tile, ears twitching at the faint sound of my human's shoes clicking against the driveway as she leaves for her night shift. I know the rhythm by now. One slow drag of her tired legs, one quick step as she adjusts the bag on her shoulder. I lift my head, watching through the half-closed blinds. Her shape disappears into the dark, swallowed by the world beyond our front door. She doesn't know what I do when she's gone. She thinks I sleep, maybe wander the house in circles until she returns. I do that too, but tonight isn't about that. Tonight, I smell it. The danger out there. The faint musk of sweat and fear that drifts in through the cracks. I let it linger in my nose, savoring it for just a second. The house is silent, but the night is not. I rise slowly, my paws padding against the floor, and move toward the back door. The air is cool against my fur, but the scent, sharp and acidic, is warmer than usual. The kind of warmth that comes before blood. It's time. The smell grows stronger, and my paws press deeper into the earth as I circle the yard. I know what this is, it's not new to me. I've felt it before, this pull, this instinct that tugs at me when something wrong is close. There's always someone hiding in the dark, pretending to be human while carrying something rotten inside them. They think no one knows, but I know. I always know. I wasn't made for chasing after toys or waiting for food scraps to drop. No, I have a different purpose. The humans don't see it. They only see the good dog, the companion, the quiet watcher. But when she's gone, I become something else, something necessary. The world needs me, even if they don't know it. I move toward the gate, and there it is. The distinct metallic scent of blood, faint but growing closer. Somewhere out there, the hunt is starting. My heart quickens, but I steady myself. This is the way it has to be. Some things don't belong in the light. Tonight, I'll make sure one of them doesn't see another sunrise. I slip through the gate, careful not to make a sound. The night is cool and still, but the scent of danger hangs heavy in the air. I follow it, my nose low, ears perked. My body moves like it's made for this, because it is. There's a rhythm to the hunt, something natural and precise. The way my paws pad silently over the ground, the way my breath remains even, controlled. It's as if I was always meant to do this, born into a world that doesn't quite know me for what I am. The smell grows stronger, and I can almost taste the metallic tang of it now. Blood. It's not fresh yet, but it will be soon if I don't act. A killer is out there, breathing the same air, walking the same streets just a few blocks away. And I'm the only one who knows, the only one who can stop him. But then I hear something else, a small, pitiful sound that doesn't fit with the usual night noises. At first, I think it's my mind playing tricks, another part of the city's ambient hum. Maybe the distant cry of some animal, but no, it's distinct, fragile, a mewling, a kitten. I stop, torn between the hunt and the sound of a creature in distress. The instinct is strong. The scent of blood pulls me one way. The cry of the kitten pulls me another. My paws shift on the pavement, my muscles tense. I should keep going. I have a job to do tonight. I have someone to find, someone to end. But the cry comes again, more desperate this time, and something inside me moves, I can't ignore it. I follow the sound, slipping through the bushes that line the street, my body a shadow against the darkened homes. The smell of fear grows weaker as I move away from the hunt, but the sound of the kitten sharpens. I push forward, my senses shifting focus. There's a part of me that fights against it, a primal urge that tells me to stay on track, but I can't help myself. The sound pulls at something deeper than the hunt. I climb over a low fence and spot it, a small ball of fur, soaked and shivering, caught in the opening of a storm drain. Its tiny paws cling to the grate, and its eyes, wide and frightened, lock onto mine. It mews again, the sound pitiful and weak. Too small, too defenseless. For a moment I stand there frozen. The killer's scent lingers in the back of my mind, a reminder of what I should be doing. But I can't move on, not yet. My body won't let me. I step closer, lowering my head toward the kitten, sniffing the air around it. It's scared. Its little body is trembling, its heart racing so fast I can almost hear it. It smells like life. Fragile, unsteady life barely clinging on. I feel my fur bristle. I'm supposed to be hunting tonight, not saving. But there's something about this little thing, trapped and helpless, that stirs something old in me. Something protective. Something that's not about blood or violence. I nudge it gently with my nose, feeling the dampness of its fur against my snout. It mewls again, trying to move but slipping in the slick grate. Carefully I push it further using my paw to give it the leverage it needs to pull itself free. It struggles, its tiny legs flailing for a moment, but then it's out, stumbling onto the wet grass beside the drain. It looks up at me, eyes wide and still full of fear. I hold still, waiting for it to move. Finally, it shakes itself, sending droplets of water flying from its fur, and then it darts off into the night, disappearing into the shadows as quickly as it had appeared. I watch it go, feeling a strange sense of satisfaction settle over me. The blood scent returns, pulling at me again, but something about that small act sticks with me. I feel it in my bones and the steady beat of my heart. It wasn't just about the hunt tonight. Maybe it never is. Maybe it's about more than that. But I can't dwell on it now. There's no time. The scent is back, stronger than before, and I know the hunt is about to begin in earnest. I turn away from where the kitten disappeared and slip back into the night, my paws quiet on the wet ground. The killer is close and I need to be closer. The smell hits me harder this time, sharp and bitter, like metal and sweat mixed together. Blood is close, too close. My ears prick up, and I feel my muscles coil as I slink through the alleyways. The streets are empty, the kind of empty that only happens at this hour, when even the night animals have found somewhere to hide. A distant car rumbles, fading into the background. The rest of the world feels like it's holding its breath. I pause at the edge of the block, letting the scent settle. There's no mistaking it now. It's coming from the house up ahead. I stare at it for a moment, taking in the sagging roof, the chipped paint, the overgrown yard. It's the kind of place that gets forgotten, tucked away on a street no one cares about. But even from here, I know what's inside. The smell tells me enough. I can sense it, the wrongness, like a stain on the air. I move closer, each step careful, my body low to the ground. I circle the house first, my nose to the earth, scanning the perimeter. The scent is thicker now, rising from the ground like heat. Death has soaked into this place. This isn't the first time blood has been spilled here. I pause by the fence, lifting my nose, and there it is, the unmistakable whiff of something worse than death. Fear. It sticks to the house like a second skin, wrapped tight around the walls, seeping out through the cracks. As I listen, I can't shake the faint prickling at the back of my neck, the uneasy sense that something is following me. I pause, nose lifted to catch any hint of a scent, but there's nothing. No smell, no sound. Nothing but the house and the blood inside. Whatever it is must be downwind, hidden in the folds of the night. It's there, though. I know it. I listen, but the house is quiet. Too quiet. There's a heaviness to the silence, like the air is holding back, waiting for something to break it. I step toward the broken window at the back, my paws moving soundlessly over the dirt. The jagged glass glints in the moonlight, and for a moment, I see my reflection staring back at me, eyes dark, fur bristling. I slip through the gap, the glass scraping lightly against my side as I pass. Inside, the air is thick. It clings to my fur, heavy with the smell of old blood, sweat, and something foul. Decay, maybe. The scent sticks to my throat, making it hard to breathe. The house feels wrong. My instincts scream at me to stay low, to stay quiet. Something bad happened here. No, not just bad. Something worse than that. I move through the room, careful to avoid the shattered glass on the floor. The boards creak softly under my paws, but the sound is swallowed by the darkness. My ears twitch, scanning for any noise, any sign of movement. The house may seem still, but I know better. I can feel the vibrations under the floor, the faint rustling of breath. Someone's down there, waiting. I make my way to the hallway. The scent's stronger now, almost overwhelming. The door to the basement is half open, revealing a steep set of stairs leading into the dark. The smell of fear hits me full force as I peer down the stairs. A sickly sweet smell mixed with sweat and terror. There's someone down there tied to a chair, their breath coming in shallow gasps. I can hear it now, faint but unmistakable, the whimper of someone who knows what's coming next. And then I hear him, the killer. His steps are slow, deliberate, like he's savoring the moment. His scent is thick with sweat and anticipation. He's done this before, too many times. I move closer to the top of the stairs, my paws light on the worn wood. The floor creaks under me and I freeze, ears twitching. He doesn't hear. He's too focused on what's in front of him. I peer through the gaps in the railing and spot him. The killer is standing over the victim, his back to me. He's tall, his shoulders hunched, his movements slow, controlled. He doesn't look at the person in the chair, doesn't need to. He knows they're not going anywhere. The victim's head hangs limp, their arms tied behind them, their breath coming in short, ragged bursts. I can see the tremors in their legs, the slight twitch of their fingers, as if they're trying to move, trying to escape the inevitable. But it's too late. The killer stands still for a moment, his head tilted to one side, like he's listening for something. I crouch lower, my body pressed against the floorboards, heart pounding in my chest. I have to time this right. One wrong move and he'll turn and the victim will be dead before I can act. But I've been here before. I know what to do. Patience. Precision. The killer steps away from the chair, moving toward a table covered in tools, blades, ropes, things that glint under the dim light. His hand hovers over a knife, his fingers twitching as he picks it up, testing its weight. I feel my muscles tense, ready to spring. One move, 1 second, that's all I'll need, but I have to wait. Timing is everything. He turns back to the victim, the knife gleaming in his hand. His breath is slow, steady, he's in control, he always has been. But not tonight. Tonight, he won't get the chance. I inch down the stairs, my movements smooth, my body low. The air down here is thicker, heavier, the smell of blood so strong it coats my tongue. I fight the urge to leap, to take him down before he touches her. I have to wait. A few more seconds. Just a few more. The knife raises, catching the dim light once more. And that's when I move. I push off the step, my body a blur of fur and muscle, my paws silent as they hit the floor. He doesn't hear me coming. Not until it's too late. I land softly on the basement floor, my paws barely making a sound as I slink into the shadows. The killer's back is still to me, his focus on the blade in his hand, the victim before him. He moves with slow, deliberate precision, savoring the moment like a predator toying with its prey. The smell of fear, thick and sharp, presses against me like a weight. It clings to the air, suffocating, and I feel the tremor of the victim's shallow breath from across the room. I pause, crouched low, watching him. He doesn't know I'm here. Not yet. But I can't move too soon. One wrong move, and the knife in his hand will flash red. The air will be thick with fresh blood, and this hunt will be over before it begins. My mind races, calculating. He's bigger, stronger, with hands that have gripped a blade more times than I can count. But he's arrogant. I can feel it in the way he moves, the way he leans closer to his victim, confident that no one is coming to stop him. Confidence like that makes humans careless. It's their weakness, and it's my strength. But I'm not like them. I have limits. No claws sharp enough to match his blade, no voice to shout warnings, no hands to free the woman bound to the chair. I'm a dog, and I have to act like one. I have to be smarter than him, quicker. He's killed before too many times. I can smell it on him, the scent of old blood buried beneath layers of soap and sweat. He's dangerous, and this place is his playground. I've wandered into his territory, and if I'm not careful, it could become my grave. I edge forward, keeping low to the ground, my eyes locked on him. He doesn't hear me, too wrapped up in whatever sick fantasy is playing out in his mind. I can see the victim now, a woman, her wrists tied tightly behind her, head slumped forward, unconscious or barely awake. Her breath rattles, faint and uneven, and I can see the bruises already blooming on her skin, the marks where the rope has dug into her wrists. I smell the blood beneath the surface, waiting to be spilled. I growl low, a sound so quiet it barely escapes my throat. My body quivers with the urge to pounce, to rip the blade from his hand and tear into him before he has a chance to strike. But I stop myself. I can't be reckless. Not here. Not now. I have to think. I have to outsmart him. The killer lifts the knife, turning it slowly in his hand, inspecting the blade as if admiring its craftsmanship. His fingers trace the edge, almost tenderly, and I can see the way his eyes gleam in the dim light, hungry for what comes next. He's planning too. Every move is calculated, every step a part of his ritual. He'll take his time with her. That's his mistake. My mind works through the options. I could lunge at him now, knock the knife from his hand before he even knows what's hit him. But he's strong, and if I don't take him down with one strike, he'll fight back. He could hurt the woman, or worse, he could hurt me. I scan the room, my eyes darting between the scattered objects. A rusted toolbox, a length of rope, a heavy pipe leaning against the wall. I'll need to use everything I can, every inch of this space. The killer may have planned this night, but he didn't plan for me. I take a slow step forward, and then another, inching closer to the victim. If I can get to her first, distract him for just long enough, I can buy myself the time I need. My tail flicks low behind me and I steady my breath. The killer shifts, turning his back fully to me as he bends over the woman, inspecting her like a butcher examining a cut of meat. Now. I slink forward, quick and silent, weaving between the shadows until I'm right behind him. His scent is overpowering now, stale sweat and something sour like old food left to rot. I have to be fast, I have to be smart. But doubt lingers just for a moment. I'm only a dog. I'm out of my element and this man is a monster. What if I fail? What if I'm too late? No time for doubt. There's only action now. I brace myself, ready for the strike. I spring forward, the muscles in my legs coiling and releasing in a single fluid motion. My body is a shadow, cutting through the air toward the killer's back. He doesn't hear me, too focused, too sure of his control over the room. His knife hand hovers, still tracing the outline of the woman's limp body, savoring the last few moments before the real horror begins. But I'm faster. My jaws snap down on his arm, my teeth driving into flesh. He screams, a high, sharp sound that cuts through the suffocating silence of the basement. His body jerks as I wrench my head, pulling him off balance. The knife clatters to the floor, skittering across the concrete, and I release my grip, dropping to the ground just as he stumbles backward, clutching his bleeding arm. He swears, his eyes wide with shock and fury as he stares at me. For a moment, he's too stunned to move, his mind trying to catch up with what just happened. He doesn't know what to make of me. A dog in his basement attacking him. This wasn't part of his plan. Good. Let him be confused. Let him doubt. I bare my teeth, a low growl rumbling from deep in my chest as I take a step toward him, my body tense and ready. He's off balance physically and mentally, but that won't last long. I can see the change in his eyes as his shock turns to rage. He's angry now, angry and desperate. The knife is gone, but he's still dangerous. He lunges at me, his hands outstretched, reaching for my neck. I dart to the side, narrowly avoiding his grasp, my paws light on the concrete as I circle him. He's bigger than me, stronger, but he's clumsy now, his movements erratic, fueled by anger and pain. I can use that. He swings at me again, but I'm faster. I move around him, staying just out of reach, my eyes scanning the room for the knife. It's on the other side of the basement, too far for me to reach without giving him an opening. I need another plan. He's still bleeding, his blood dripping onto the floor, the scent filling my nose. I can smell his fear now, mingling with the rage. He's realizing what's happening, that he's losing control, and that scares him. Good. I keep moving, keeping him off balance, making him chase me around the room. He's growing more frantic, his breath coming in short, ragged bursts. I just need to tire him out, wait for the right moment to strike again. But then I hear it, a sound that cuts through the noise of our fight, faint but unmistakable. A soft groan barely audible. The woman. She's waking up. My ears flick toward her and I see her head lift, just a little, her eyes fluttering open. She's confused, disoriented, but she's alive and she's looking at me. The killer notices too. His gaze shifts from me to her, and I see the moment he makes his decision. He's losing control of the fight, but if he can't have that, he'll settle for taking her life. He turns toward her, his body moving with renewed purpose. I see it all happen in slow motion. The way his feet plant, the way his hand reaches for the nearest object, a heavy wrench lying on the table beside her. No. I launch myself at him, my body slamming into his side just as his fingers close around the wrench. We crash into the table, sending tools clattering to the floor. He grunts as I knock the wind out of him, but he's still fighting, still trying to swing the wrench at me. I bite down on his wrist, hard, and he howls in pain, dropping the wrench. I don't let go. I can't, not until he's down, not until he's done. He struggles beneath me, his body thrashing as he tries to shake me off. But I hold on, my jaws locked around his wrist, my paws pressing into his chest. His movements grow weaker, slower until finally he stops. I let go, stepping back, panting. He's still alive, but barely. His chest rises and falls in shallow breaths, his eyes half closed, dazed. He's not dead, but he's not a threat anymore. Not right now. I glance at the woman. She's watching me, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and disbelief. I step toward her, slowly, cautiously, my head low to the ground. She flinches, but I don't blame her. I must look terrifying to her. A dog covered in blood, standing over a broken, bleeding man. But I'm not here to hurt her. I nudge her hand with my nose, gently. She stares at me for a long moment and then finally she relaxes just a little. She doesn't speak. Her voice is probably too weak for that, but her eyes tell me enough. She's safe. For now. I turn back to the killer. He's still breathing, but unconscious. I should end it here. Finish him off before he has a chance to get back up. But something stops me. He's not a threat right now. And the woman, she needs help. If I kill him now, I'll lose time. She could bleed out. I hesitate just for a moment, and then I make my decision. I leave him there, lying in his own blood, and I focus on her. She's the priority now. As I stand over her, I catch a glimpse of something in her eyes. Fear, of course, but something else, something familiar. It reminds me of a night long ago, back when I was just a pup, smaller than I am now, and not nearly as wise. I wasn't a hunter yet, just a protector. But even back then, I knew what it meant to protect. It was late, just like tonight. My human had been asleep, and the house was quiet. Too quiet. I remember how the air felt wrong, how it hummed with a tension I didn't understand. I'd been curled up at the foot of her bed, listening to her soft breathing, lulled by the steady rise and fall of her chest. But then something had changed, something outside moving in the shadows. I'd crept toward the window, my paws silent on the floor, ears twitching at every creak and groan of the house. And then I'd seen him, a man standing in the yard watching the house, his eyes fixed on the window. He was too close, too still, his face obscured by the night. But I could feel his intentions, like a ripple of darkness spreading out from him. He wasn't supposed to be there, he was a threat. I hadn't thought, I'd just acted. A low growl rose in my throat, unbidden, as I ran toward the door, barking, warning him that this was my territory, that I wouldn't let him near her. I was small then, not strong enough to do much if he tried to break in, but I didn't care. My job wasn't to fight, it was to protect. My human had woken up, startled by the noise, and when she'd seen the man in the yard, her eyes had widened with fear. But I'd kept barking, kept pushing him back with my voice, with my presence. The man had retreated into the night, slipping away into the shadows like a coward. She had knelt beside me afterward, her hand trembling as she stroked my fur, whispering that I was a good boy, her good boy. I'd felt it then, that sense of pride, of purpose. I'd kept her safe, I'd done my job. That's when I knew deep down, that protecting her wasn't just something I wanted to do. It was something I had to do. It was what I was made for. That night had changed me. I wasn't just a dog. I was her protector. And it had been enough. Back then, just scaring away the danger had been enough. But things were different now. The threats were different. I wasn't a pup anymore, and the world had grown darker. Now, the shadows weren't always scared off by barking. Sometimes the danger had to be met head-on. Sometimes, the only way to protect was to fight. I looked down at the woman now, tied to the chair, her breath shallow, her eyes wide with fear. She's not my human, but I see the same need in her, the same helplessness, the same silent plea for protection. I feel it again, that same instinct that had driven me all those years ago, that had made me throw myself into the night to keep her safe. But this time, it's stronger. This time, I know what I have to do. I have to finish this. The woman's breath comes in shallow, uneven gasps. Her wrists are raw, skin broken where the ropes have cut into her flesh. Her head lolls to one side, eyelids fluttering as if she's fighting to stay conscious. I can hear the faint, rapid beating of her heart. It's weak, but it's still there. She's alive, for now. I glance over at the man lying crumpled on the floor. His chest rises and falls in uneven spurts. He's unconscious, but I know better than to trust that he'll stay that way for long. He's still dangerous. Even now I can sense it, the raw malevolence that clings to him like a second skin. I can't let him get up again. If he does, neither of us will survive. But the woman, she's slipping fast. Her pulse is faint, her skin too pale. If I don't help her now, there won't be anything left to save. I turn to her, nudging her hand with my nose, testing the ropes that bind her wrists. The knots are tight, expertly tied. I pull at them with my teeth, trying to loosen them, but they're too strong. I huff in frustration, stepping back to survey the room. There must be something here I can use, something to get her free. The basement is cluttered with the tools of his trade. Coils of rope, old rusted chains, a toolbox spilling over with sharp instruments. My eyes scan the room, locking onto a discarded knife lying near the corner. If I can get it to her, she might have a chance to cut herself free. I dart toward the knife, grabbing it between my teeth, careful not to let the blade touch my tongue. I carry it back to the woman, dropping it beside her bound hands. Her head shifts slightly, her eyes barely open, but she's too weak to notice. I nudge her again, harder this time, pushing the knife closer to her fingers. She stirs, blinking slowly, her breath hitching as she realizes I'm trying to help. Her fingers twitch, moving toward the blade, but they fumble, weak from blood loss. She's trying, but it's not enough. I let out a low growl, a sound of frustration and urgency. She needs to hurry. The killer shifts on the floor, groaning softly as his body begins to stir. I whip around, my eyes locking onto him. His fingers twitch, his arm moves slightly, and I can feel the change in the air, the shift from unconsciousness to awareness. Time's running out. I glance back at the woman, watching as she weakly grips the knife, struggling to lift it. She's not going to make it on her own. I need to buy her more time. I turn back to the killer, my body tense, muscles coiled, ready to strike again if he moves. He groans louder now, his eyes fluttering open, dazed at first, but slowly sharpening with awareness. He's waking up, and when he does, there will be no second chances. I need to keep him down. I leap at him, my paws slamming into his chest, knocking the wind out of him before he has a chance to sit up. He grunts in pain, his hands shooting up to grab at me, but I'm faster. I snap at his hand, my teeth grazing his skin, drawing blood. He yells, pulling his arm back, but it's sluggish, slower than before. He's weakening, but he's not finished yet. He swings at me, trying to push me off, but I dart to the side, narrowly avoiding his grasp. My paws skid on the concrete as I circle him, keeping him off balance. He's still dangerous, still strong, but the blood loss is taking its toll. I can smell the fatigue on him, the growing fear. I growl low in my throat, the sound rumbling through the basement, a warning. He won't win this fight, not tonight. Behind me, I hear the faint scrape of metal on concrete as the woman drags the knife toward her wrists. She's still too weak, still struggling, but she hasn't given up. I can hear the soft sounds of her breath hitching with effort, the faint clink of the blade as she works at the ropes. But it's taking too long. The killer lunges at me again, more desperate now. His arm swings wide, aiming for my throat, but I dart to the side, his hand missing me by inches. I growl again, circling him, my eyes flicking back to the woman. She's cutting through the ropes, her hands trembling, but the blade is dull, the knots thick. I need to do more. I leap at the man's face, my teeth sinking into his shoulder. He roars in pain, grabbing at me, trying to tear me off, but I hold firm, shaking my head violently. He stumbles backward, crashing into the wall, but I don't let go. I can feel the muscle tearing beneath my jaws, the warm gush of blood as it spills onto my tongue. It's not clean, it's not quick, but it's effective. He slams into the wall again, his body sagging as his strength begins to fail. I release him, dropping to the ground as he crumples, barely conscious. He's not dead, but he's close. Close enough that he won't be a problem for a few more minutes. I turn to the woman. She's managed to cut through the ropes now, her wrists free, but her hands are trembling, her face pale and slick with sweat. I nudge her again, urging her to move. She looks at me, her eyes wide with fear, but there's something else there now. Determination. She tries to stand, her legs wobbling beneath her, but she falls back into the chair, too weak to hold herself up. I step beside her, pressing against her leg, offering her support. She grips the back of the chair, using it to pull herself up, her breath coming in ragged gasps. I glance back at the killer. He's still down, but I can see his fingers twitching, his chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. He won't stay down for long. If we don't finish this now, he'll get back up, and this time, he won't hesitate. I scan the room again, searching for something, anything, that can put an end to this. My eyes land on a rusted pipe lying near the wall, long and heavy. It's thick enough to do damage if she can lift it. I dart toward the pipe, nudging it with my nose, pushing it toward her. She watches me, confused at first, but then her eyes widen in understanding. Her hands tremble as she reaches for it, her fingers closing around the rough metal. It's heavy, too heavy for her weakened arms, but she's trying. She drags the pipe closer, her breath coming in sharp, pained gasps. I move back to the killer, standing over him, my body tense, ready to strike again if he moves. He groans softly, his eyelids fluttering open, and I see the fear in his eyes. He knows what's coming. He knows he's lost. The woman struggles with the pipe, lifting it halfway, her arms shaking under the weight. She's running out of strength, but there's no time left. The killer's hand twitches, reaching for the wall, trying to pull himself up. I growl, snapping at him, keeping him down, but it's not enough. He's getting stronger, pulling himself back to consciousness. I bark loud and sharp, a command. The woman grits her teeth, lifting the pipe higher, her muscles straining with the effort. I can see the pain in her face, the desperation, but she pushes through it, fighting against her own body. And then, with a final, desperate cry, she swings the pipe down. It connects with the killer's head with a sickening crunch, and he goes still. His body slumps to the floor, limp, blood pooling beneath him. The woman drops the pipe, collapsing back into the chair, her body trembling violently. I step toward her, nudging her knee gently, reassuring her that it's over. She looks at me, tears welling in her eyes, her breath still coming in gasps. But she's safe now. She's alive. I turn to the killer. His body lies still, his chest no longer rising. He's dead. Finally. But as I look at him, I know this isn't the end. Not really. There will always be more like him. More waiting in the shadows, waiting for their chance. And I'll be there too, waiting for them. The silence after the pipe falls is deafening. The metallic clang echoes off the concrete walls, reverberating through the room like the final breath of a dying beast. I stare down at the body, my breath steadying as the adrenaline begins to drain from my limbs. The killer lies motionless, his skull caved in from the blow. Blood pools around his head, slowly soaking into the cracks in the floor. He's dead. But the scent of death in the room isn't gone. It clings to everything, the walls, the tools, even the air. It lingers, mixing with the stale smell of sweat and fear. I can feel it pressing against my fur, trying to sink in, to take hold of me. It's the same smell I've encountered, time and time again, the same cold finality that fills the spaces where these monsters work. And I know without a doubt that this isn't over. There will be more. There's always more. I turn back to the woman. She's still slumped in the chair, her body trembling from exhaustion, her breath coming in short, sharp bursts. She's alive, but barely. Her wrists are bruised and raw, her skin pale from blood loss. She needs help, real help, something more than I can give her. My paws can only do so much. I nudge her gently, pressing my nose against her hand, trying to stir her. She groans softly, her eyes fluttering open, glassy and unfocused. I push against her again, urging her to move. We can't stay here, not in this place. She blinks at me, her gaze slowly clearing, and then she looks down at the body on the floor. Her breath hitches, a sob catching in her throat, and she flinches away from the sight, her fingers tightening around the arm of the chair. She's still afraid, still locked in that place where fear rules over everything else. I can smell it on her, the lingering scent of terror that hasn't left her yet. But it will fade. With time, it will fade. I glance around the room, scanning for a way out. The basement is small, with only the stairs leading up to the door at the top. The exit feels miles away, but we have to move. The killer is dead, but the danger isn't. We need to be gone before someone else comes looking for him, before the real darkness comes back. I take a step toward the stairs, looking back at her, urging her to follow. She hesitates, her eyes flicking between me and the body on the floor. Her muscles twitch, like she wants to move, but her legs won't cooperate. She's frozen, trapped by the memory of what just happened. I bark softly, a nudge to remind her that she's safe now. She looks at me again, and this time, I see a flicker of recognition in her eyes. She knows what she has to do. She has to get out of here. I can't carry her. She has to find the strength to stand. Slowly, she pushes herself up from the chair, her body swaying unsteadily on her feet. I stay close, pressing against her legs to steady her. She grips the back of the chair, her breath ragged as she tries to gather the strength to move. One step at a time. That's all she has to do. I take another step toward the stairs, glancing back at her, and she follows. Her steps are slow, shaky, but she's moving. We're moving. The stairs creak under her weight as we climb, each step feeling like a mile, but we don't stop. She stumbles once, catching herself on the railing, and I'm there beside her, ready to push her forward again. I glance over my shoulder, half expecting the killer to rise from the floor, to follow us, but he doesn't. He's gone. When we reach the top of the stairs, I pause, ears pricked, listening. The house above us is still, the silence almost too loud after the chaos in the basement. I step forward cautiously, testing the air with my nose. The scent of death is behind us now, but the house is still full of shadows, and I don't trust it. We move through the narrow hallway, the woman's breath labored and uneven as she clings to the walls for support. Every step feels like it could be our last, like something is waiting for us just around the corner. But we don't stop. We can't stop. I push open the back door with my nose, the night air rushing in to meet us. It's cold, but it's clean. The smell of grass, of trees, of life fills my senses, washing away the stench of death that's been clinging to me since we entered the house. I step outside, feeling the ground beneath my paws, the fresh breeze ruffling my fur. It feels like freedom. I turn back to the woman. She stands in the doorway, her body sagging with exhaustion, but her eyes are clearer now. She's free too. She stumbles forward, collapsing onto the grass, her body trembling with relief. She's out, we're out. The nightmare is over. But as I stand there watching her, I know the truth. It's not over, not really. The killer is dead, but there are others like him, waiting, lurking, hiding in the dark corners of the world. I've seen them before, and I'll see them again. For now, though, the night is quiet. The stars blink overhead, indifferent to what's happened here. The wind whispers through the trees, carrying the scent of the earth, of home. I sit beside her, my body still, my senses alert, listening to the world around us. The hunt will come again, but not tonight. Tonight we rest. The night air should feel like freedom, cool, clean, alive with the scent of grass and trees. But it doesn't. It feels thin, almost too light, as if the weight of what's just happened hasn't fully lifted. I stand beside the woman, ears pricked, nose twitching, scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. We're out, but we're not safe, not yet. She lies on the grass, her body trembling with exhaustion, her breath coming in short, ragged bursts. I can hear the uneven rhythm of her heartbeat, struggling to steady itself after the chaos in the basement. She's alive, but she's barely hanging on. I nudge her gently, pressing my nose into her shoulder, but she doesn't move. Her body is limp, drained of all strength. I look back at the house, the dark windows staring out at us like hollow eyes. The killer is still down there, lifeless, his blood staining the concrete floor. But the house feels wrong, as if it's watching us, waiting for something. I know better than to trust it. Just because one threat is gone doesn't mean the night is over. I pace around her, restless. Something isn't right. The wind shifts and I catch a new scent, faint but distinct. Another presence. Someone else is near. My muscles tense and I lower my body to the ground, ears flat, ready to move at a moment's notice. I sniff the air again, trying to locate the source. It's coming from the side of the house near the fence. The scent is familiar, old, like decaying wood and stale sweat. But there's something else too. A pulse of danger, subtle but real. I know this smell, I've smelled it before. I move toward the fence, keeping low, my eyes scanning the shadows. The wind rustles the grass and I pause, waiting, listening. There, footsteps. Soft, careful, but unmistakable. Someone is watching us. The woman stirs behind me, letting out a soft moan. I glance back at her, my heart quickening. She's too weak to move, too weak to run. If this new threat is anything like the one we just escaped, we won't stand a chance. The footsteps stop. I freeze, my body going still, ears twitching as I try to pinpoint the exact location. Whoever it is, they're waiting, watching. I growl low in my throat, a warning, but there's no response, just silence. I step forward, inching toward the edge of the yard, my senses alert. The scent grows stronger, thicker, and I can feel the shift in the air. This isn't over. There's more danger here, lurking just beyond the fence, just out of reach. And then I see it, a figure, tall and broad-shouldered, standing just beyond the fence line. He's dressed in dark clothes, his face hidden in the shadows, but I can feel the malice rolling off him in waves. He's waiting for something, for us. I growl again, louder this time, baring my teeth. He doesn't move, doesn't react. He just stands there, watching, his head tilted slightly as if he's studying us, deciding whether we're worth the effort. I can feel his gaze, cold and calculating, like the killer we just left behind. I take a step closer, ready to pounce if he crosses the line, but he stays where he is, unmoving. The tension hangs in the air, thick and suffocating. I can feel it pressing down on me, tightening around my chest. Whoever he is, he's not here by accident. He knows what happened in that house. He knows what we just did. I glance back at the woman. She's still on the ground, her eyes half closed, her breath shallow. She's not ready for this. She's not ready for another fight. But I am. I face the man again, my body coiled, ready to spring. My instincts scream at me to act, to attack, to drive him away before he has a chance to strike. But something stops me. He's not moving. He's not coming closer. He's just watching. And that's when I realize he's not alone. I whip my head to the left, catching the faintest movement in the trees. Another figure, smaller but just as dangerous, moving through the shadows. I growl, my fur bristling, but it doesn't stop. It's getting closer, circling us. We're surrounded. The man by the fence shifts slightly, and I see the glint of something in his hand. A blade, long and sharp, catching the moonlight. My muscles tighten. He's waiting for the right moment, for the perfect time to strike. I can't let him. I bark sharply, a warning to the woman. She stirs, her eyes fluttering open, confusion clouding her gaze. I need her to move, to get up, to run, but she's too weak. She won't make it far. I turn back to the man, my heart pounding in my chest. There's no time left. I have to act. With a snarl, I lunge forward, charging toward the fence, my teeth bared, my body a blur of fur and fury. The man steps back, startled, but he doesn't retreat. He holds his ground, waiting for me to reach him. But I don't. I stop just short of the fence, barking wildly, snapping at the air, trying to drive him back. He watches me, his eyes cold and calculating, but he doesn't move. He's testing me, seeing how far I'm willing to go. The other figure moves closer, circling around to the other side of the yard, flanking us. I'm out of options. I can't fight them both. Not like this. I back up slowly, my eyes never leaving the man by the fence. He tilts his head again, as if considering something, and then he steps back, melting into the shadows. The second figure follows, disappearing into the trees. I stand there, my breath coming in sharp bursts, my body still tense, waiting for them to return. But they don't. The yard is empty again, the night air cold and still. For now. I turn back to the woman, nudging her gently. We need to move, we need to leave. Whoever they were, they'll be back. And next time, they won't just be watching. The silence presses down on me like a heavy blanket, smothering the night. The figures have melted back into the shadows, but their presence lingers, thick and oppressive. I stand guard, my body still coiled, ready for them to return. But they don't. Not yet. I glance back at the woman. She's still on the ground, curled up on her side, her body trembling with exhaustion. Her skin is ashen, her breath shallow. She's fading fast. I nudge her gently, trying to stir her, but she barely reacts. Her eyes flutter open for a brief moment, glassy and unfocused, and then close again. Panic claws at my chest. We don't have time for this. She needs to move. She needs to get up. If we stay here, if we wait for those figures to come back, we're both dead. But she's too weak, too broken. I circle her, frantic, my paws digging into the grass. I press my nose against her cheek, trying to wake her, but she's slipping away, her body growing more still with each passing moment. I let out a low whine, desperate. I've done all I can, fought off the killer, gotten her out of the house, faced the new threat. But now, with her lying there barely breathing, I feel helpless. The world is closing in around us, and I can't stop it. I sniffed the air again, searching for any sign of the men who had watched us from the shadows. Nothing, just the faint rustle of leaves in the wind. But I know they're still out there, waiting, watching. And I can't protect her. The thought hits me like a blow to the chest, knocking the air from my lungs. I've failed. I've brought her this far, fought for her, saved her, but it's not enough. She's too weak. She's dying. And there's nothing I can do. The weight of it crashes over me, the realization that I can't save her. I'm just a dog. I can bite, I can snarl, I can fight off the monsters in the dark, but I can't fix this. I can't make her stand. I can't make her strong again. I sit down beside her, the exhaustion finally catching up to me. My legs shake, my chest heaving as I try to catch my breath. I've done everything I could, and it's not enough. I've lost. I lower my head, resting my muzzle on her shoulder. Her skin is cold and I can feel the faint pulse of her heart, slowing, weakening. The world around us feels too big, too overwhelming, and for the first time, I don't know what to do. I close my eyes, letting the weight of the night settle over me. The wind picks up, rustling the trees, and I can almost hear the footsteps again, the men circling, waiting for their moment. It's only a matter of time before they come back, and when they do, I won't be able to stop them. All I can do now is wait. Wait for them to come. Wait for the end. I stay there, motionless, with my head resting on the woman's shoulder. Her breath is faint, barely noticeable, and her heart beats slower with each passing second. The cold of the night air wraps around us both, and for the first time in my life, I feel truly helpless. The kind of helplessness that sinks into your bones, that tells you no matter how hard you fight, no matter how fast you run, sometimes it's not enough. The wind rustles the leaves again, carrying with it the faintest scent of the men who had circled us. They're still out there. I can feel them. They're waiting for the right moment to come back, to finish what the killer started. The weight of that realization presses down on me like a heavy fog, smothering the last flickers of hope I had left. I thought I could save her. I thought I could protect her like I've done so many times before. But what good are my teeth, my strength, if I can't get her to stand, to run, to live? I was supposed to be enough. I was supposed to be the one who could make a difference, but I failed. I lift my head, looking down at her, my heart heavy in my chest. Her face is pale, her eyes closed, her chest barely rising and falling. The world around us is quiet, as if it's holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable. And I can feel it. Her slipping away from me, her life ebbing like the tide. I close my eyes, letting out a soft whine, a sound of defeat. I'm just a dog. I'm not a hero. I can't save her. I can't do anything but wait here with her until the end comes for both of us. But then something stirs in me, something deep, something old. It's not just instinct. It's more than that. It's the memory of all the times I've stood between my human and the darkness, all the times I've fought back the fear and the danger because that's what I was made to do. I think about her, my human, the one who took me in, who fed me, who cared for me when I was small and scared and didn't know any better. The one I've protected every day of my life since then. I've stood at the door, I've barked at shadows, I've fought off those who tried to harm her. I've done it because that's who I am. That's what I do. And if I give up now, if I let this woman die, then what am I? What good am I if I can't keep going, can't find a way to fight through the hopelessness? I can't give up. Not yet. Not when there's still a chance, no matter how small. I open my eyes again and something inside me shifts. The fear, the helplessness. It's still there, but it's not everything. There's something else. Determination, strength. I can still fight. I can still protect her. I may not be able to carry her out of here, but I can stand guard. I can keep the darkness at bay just a little longer. I nudge her gently, my nose pressing against her cheek. She doesn't respond, but that doesn't matter. She's not alone. I'm still here and I'm not leaving. The wind picks up again, and I hear the faint sound of footsteps in the distance. They're coming back, but this time I'm ready. The night feels heavier now, thick with the tension of what's coming. I can hear them, the men from the shadows, moving closer, their footsteps soft but deliberate. They're not rushing, they know they have the upper hand. They think this is already over, but they're wrong. I rise to my feet, muscles coiled and ready, standing tall over the woman's body. She's still, her breath barely there, but she's alive, and as long as she's alive, I'm not done, not yet. The scent of the men grows stronger, thick with the familiar stench of sweat, metal, and something darker, more sinister. My ears twitch, picking up the sound of branches snapping, leaves crunching under their boots. They're coming from all sides now, surrounding us. But I don't let fear take over. Fear won't help me now. I take a step forward, placing myself between the woman and the direction of the approaching threat. The grass is damp beneath my paws, the cold seeping into my fur, but I ignore it. My focus narrows. It's just me and them now. The world outside fades away, and I become what I've always been, a protector, a predator in my own right. The first figure steps out from the shadows, his face still obscured by the darkness, but I can see his movements now. Slow, deliberate, he's testing me, waiting to see what I'll do. I let out a low growl, my teeth bared, and I see him hesitate for just a moment. Good. Let him doubt. Let him question whether this is worth the effort. But he doesn't retreat. Instead, he signals to the others, and I see another figure step into view from the opposite side of the yard. They're flanking us, moving in a half circle, trapping us between the house and the fence. I bark loud and sharp, a warning. I don't know if the woman can hear me. I don't know if she's conscious enough to understand, but I need her to know I'm still here. I haven't given up, and I won't. The men take another step forward, and my growl deepens, rumbling from the pit of my chest. I take a step forward, my eyes locked on the first figure. He's the leader, I can tell. The way he moves, the way the others follow his lead, it's clear. If I can take him down, the others might hesitate. I lunge. The world narrows to the space between us, my body moving like a bolt of lightning as I leap through the air. My teeth sink into his arm, the sharp tang of metal and leather filling my mouth as I knock him off balance. He grunts, stumbling backward, but I don't let go. I shake my head hard, pulling him down with me as I drag him to the ground. He yells, a guttural sound that echoes through the yard, but I don't care. I tighten my grip, my teeth cutting deeper into his flesh as I tear through the sleeve of his jacket. He swings at me with his free hand, but it's a clumsy, desperate move. He's not used to this. He's not used to being the prey. The second man rushes forward, and I see the glint of a knife in his hand. He's fast, but I'm faster. I release the first man, pivoting just as the second man lunges toward me. The blade misses me by inches, slicing through the air where my head had been a second ago. I snarl, leaping at him before he can recover. My body slams into his chest, knocking him off his feet, and I feel the weight of him as he hits the ground beneath me. The knife skitters out of his hand, disappearing into the grass. I bare my teeth, snapping at his throat, and he raises his arms to shield himself, but I don't stop. I can't. I've come too far to let them win now. I bite down on his forearm, my teeth piercing skin, and he screams, trying to shake me off, but I hold firm. Blood fills my mouth, warm and metallic, but I don't let go. The third man moves in, his footsteps heavy as he rushes toward me. I hear him coming, but I don't have time to react. His boot connects with my side hard, sending a shockwave of pain through my ribs. I yelp, the force of the kick knocking me off the second man, and I roll onto the grass, gasping for breath. I stagger to my feet, my body trembling from the impact, but I don't back down. I growl, baring my teeth as I face the three of them. They're wounded, bleeding, but they're still standing, and I'm outnumbered. But that doesn't matter. I won't let them get to her, not while I'm still breathing. They advance slowly, their eyes locked on me, but I can see the hesitation in their movements now. They didn't expect this, they didn't expect a fight, and now they're questioning whether it's worth it. I bark again, sharp and furious, daring them to come closer. The first man wipes the blood from his arm, his gaze cold as he meets mine. For a moment, it feels like we're at a standstill, both sides waiting for the other to make a move. And then, slowly, he steps back. The others follow, retreating into the shadows, their eyes never leaving me. They're not beaten, but they've decided this isn't the time. Not tonight. I watch them disappear into the darkness, my body still trembling, every muscle on edge, waiting for them to come back. But they don't. The night is quiet again, the only sound the faint rustle of the wind through the trees. I collapse beside the woman, my breath coming in ragged gasps. My body aches, pain radiating through my ribs where the man had kicked me, but I don't care. We're still here. We're still alive. For now. I lie next to her, chest heaving, pain spreading like fire through my ribs with every breath. The men are gone, at least for now, but I know they'll come back. They always do. The night is quiet again, the house looming behind us, dark and still. She's fading fast. Her breath comes in shallow gasps, and I can feel her pulse slowing, weaker with every passing moment. My own body is spent, every muscle screaming in pain, my legs too weak to carry me anywhere. I try to lift my head, to listen for any sound of help, but the street is empty. There's no one coming. I nuzzle her cheek, trying to keep her awake, but she's barely conscious. She's slipping away, and I don't have the strength left to find help. We're trapped here, both of us, with nothing but the dark pressing in on all sides. My eyes scan the yard, the street beyond, but it's all so still. Too still. Then I hear it. Something small and quick darting through the grass. A soft, familiar rustle. I lift my head, ears pricking up despite the exhaustion weighing me down. It's the kitten. The same one I saved earlier. Its tiny body darting across the yard, tail flicking behind it. I watch it scamper toward the street, its movements frantic, as if it's running from something. But it's not alone. Two humans, a man and a woman, chase after it, calling softly, trying to coax it back to them. They're laughing, their voices light, unaware of what they're about to stumble upon. The kitten dashes past them, slipping through their legs, and leads them straight toward us. They stop suddenly, their laughter dying as they see us, me lying in the grass, and the woman motionless beside me. Their faces shift from confusion to shock as they take in the scene, their eyes wide with realization. "Oh my God," the woman breathes, her hand flying to her mouth. What happened?" The man steps forward, cautiously, his gaze darting between us and the house. He looks at me, then at the woman, his brow furrowed with concern. I bark, a weak, raspy sound, trying to get his attention to make him understand. "We need help, now." He kneels beside her, his hands hovering over her body, unsure of what to do. "She's alive," he mutters, more to himself than to anyone else. "But she needs help, fast." The woman pulls out her phone, her fingers trembling as she dials. I can hear her voice, panicked and hurried, as she speaks to someone on the other end. "We need an ambulance, there's a woman, she's hurt, please hurry." She glances down at me, her eyes softening as she takes in the sight of my battered body. "And there's a dog," she adds, her voice thick with emotion. "I think he saved her." I lower my head back onto the ground, too tired to move any further. The kitten circles around us, mewing softly as it watches from a safe distance. It sits back on its haunches, its tiny eyes wide as if it understands what it's done. The sirens come next, faint at first, then louder, cutting through the stillness of the night. Red and blue lights flicker against the trees, casting long shadows across the yard. The man stands up, waving them down, his voice urgent as he shouts instructions. I watch as the paramedics rush toward us, their faces tight with focus. They kneel beside the woman, their hands moving quickly, checking her pulse, stabilizing her breathing. I can hear the clipped, efficient tones of their voices, though I don't understand the words. All I know is that they're taking her away, taking her somewhere safe. They lift her onto the stretcher, strapping her in, and I watch as they load her into the back of the ambulance. The doors slam shut, the sirens wail again, and the vehicle speeds off into the night. I let out a slow breath, the exhaustion finally pulling me under. She's safe now. She's alive. The kitten did what I couldn't. It brought help when I was too weak to find it myself. The man and woman kneel beside me, their hands gentle as they stroke my fur. "You did good," the man says softly, his voice warm and kind. "You saved her." I close my eyes, the pain ebbing away as the night settles around us again. The danger has passed for now, and for the first time in hours, I let myself rest. But as I drift off, I know this isn't the end. There are more out there, more like him, waiting in the dark. And when they come, I'll be ready. I pad down the street, my bandaged ribs aching with every step, but the pain is easier to bear now. The vet had patched me up, given me something to dull the worst of it. They tried to keep me there, but I slipped away as soon as I could. I've never liked being cooped up, not when there's work to do. The night is calm, the sky clear and dotted with stars. The world feels different now, quieter, safer. I know it won't last forever, it never does. But for now, there's peace. As I make my way home, I hear a soft mewing from the shadows. I pause, ears twitching, and there it is, scampering toward me with that same energy it had before. The kitten, my little savior. She rubs against my leg, purring as if she's been waiting for me. I look down at her, feeling a strange mix of warmth and responsibility settle in my chest. She's so small, so fragile, but she made it through, just like me. We bump noses, communicating more than human words could ever hope to. By the time I reach the door, my owner is there, waiting, her eyes wide with relief. She bends down, checking my bandages, her hands gentle but firm. "Where did you run off to this time?" she asks softly, her voice full of affection. I smell a teardrop swelling in her eye. "It's okay. We're okay. I wish I could say this out loud." Then she spots the kitten. She kneels, rubbing the little thing's head with a soft laugh. "And where did you come from?" The kitten purrs, her tiny body curling against my side. My owner tilts her head, smiling as she looks between the two of us. "Well, I guess you've made a new friend, huh?" She pauses for a moment, then shakes her head, unable to resist. All right, you can stay, but you," she says, pointing at me, "have to take care of her." I look at the kitten, who's already nestled against me, purring away like she's always belonged here. I lean down, resting my head on my paws as she curls up beside me. I can feel the steady rhythm of her breathing, her tiny body warm against mine. "Don't worry," I think, watching as my owner stands up and leads us inside. "We'll take care of each other. And you."